This is no longer just gossip from tabloids or chatter floating around online. We're dealing with a straight-up ultimatum delivered by the very person who gave them crucial support right after they fled the royal family. Tyler Perry. Tonight's breaking story reveals that the man who acted as their escaped godfather has apparently become their worst problem. Fresh, shocking reports claim Tyler Perry has set a firm boundary, making it plain, regarding that loan for your Montecito place, if the full amount isn't repaid within the next 30 days, I will be forced to bring this matter before a judge. There's no question about it. This isn't an empty warning. Tyler Perry built his own billionaire-level empire and runs it completely on his terms. When someone with that kind of power warns about taking legal steps, it's the last resort. Prince Harry and Meghan are genuinely frightened because going to court opens the door to discovery. That process would drag every financial statement, every borrowing document, and every private message out into full public view. Right now, we're digging deep into what's happening in Montecito. We'll reveal the concealed financial help that made their home purchase possible. We'll explain how ignoring Tyler Perry ended up blowing up in their faces so badly, and why this tight 30-day window could mark the permanent collapse of everything the Sussex name stands for. Stick around all the way through, because once the funds dry up, the real nature of people's connections becomes crystal clear. To figure out why a billionaire such as Tyler Perry is said to be prepared to file a lawsuit, we need to go back to the turbulent months of spring 2020. That period marked the peak of what people called Megxit. Meghan and Prince Harry had suddenly departed from Canada, explaining their move with concerns over safety and insufficient backing from the royals. They arrived in Los Angeles without any clear strategy, no fixed residence, and most importantly, no way to tap into royal funds anymore. That's precisely when Tyler Perry entered the picture without drawing attention. Initially, the story felt genuinely touching. He offered them a secure refuge, his enormous $18 million property in Beverly Hills, along with complete protection services. To most observers, this looked like straightforward kindness, a major figure in entertainment shielding a vulnerable pair from relentless media scrutiny. Yet, according to people familiar with the situation, his support went far beyond providing a place to stay. Over time, as weeks stretched into months, the help supposedly shifted from lodging to actual financial backing. We're specifically referring to the Montecito property deal. Once Harry and Meghan located the residence they wanted, the estate sometimes called the Shadow of Riven Rock, the cost reached an enormous $14.65 million. That sum would strain even someone with royal status, particularly after King Charles had severed financial ties. Accounts indicate they possessed certain personal funds, but they still faced a shortfall when it came to covering the required down payment. In California's competitive housing market, buyers must have readily available cash to finalize transactions quickly. This is exactly the point where the undisclosed assistance became critical. People with knowledge of the matter claim Tyler Perry transferred several $1 million to cover that shortfall. The arrangement wasn't set up like a standard long-term mortgage from a bank. Given the pressing timeline and their personal closeness, it was handled in a casual manner. There were no public announcements of legal papers, no teams of attorneys preparing lengthy documents, just mutual understanding and a verbal agreement based on confidence. Tyler Perry thought he was simply assisting close friends in regaining stability. He bought into the idea they were building their own self-sufficient path. However, here's the mental misstep Prince Harry made. Raised inside palaces where finances felt distant and were handled through the Duchy of Cornwall, he probably interpreted the assistance as something given freely, like royal patronage. In his eyes, Tyler Perry resembled a contemporary version of a magical benefactor. Yet Tyler Perry earned every dollar of his wealth through his own efforts. He never reached his position by handing out large sums with no expectation of repayment. In his view, The money represented temporary financing, a temporary boost meant to launch the Sussex enterprise, which was projected to bring in substantial profits. Nobody advances millions unless they trust the recipients will return it. For some time, the situation appeared promising. Netflix reached out with offers. Spotify provided funding. Income looked guaranteed, so the informal understanding stayed private. Harry and Meghan settled into the property and appeared on the cover of Time magazine, presenting the home as proof of their newfound autonomy. They conveniently omitted the key fact that property rested on funds they had borrowed. In the realm of commerce, unlike royal life, nothing comes without a price tag eventually. Sooner or later, payment is required. And as events unfolded, once Harry ceased responding to calls, Tyler Perry concluded the time had arrived to demand what was owed. So what changed to make this happen now? Why would Tyler Perry, known widely for keeping matters private and staying loyal, choose to threaten pulling the Duke and Duchess of Sussex into open legal proceedings? The issue goes beyond dollars alone. It centers on the unforgivable offense in entertainment circles and among well-mannered people, cutting off contact completely. People on the inside say the real difficulty wasn't merely the existence of the debt. The true issue was the total breakdown in communication. Borrowing vast amounts from someone close through nothing more than a verbal promise means you're not only taking money, you're taking their faith in you. The way you repay that trust is by staying in touch. Yet as the dates for repayment neared and income from their entertainment agreements began to fade, Harry and Meghan supposedly committed a disastrous mistake in judgment. They quit responding to outreach. A person doesn't make such a public declaration of intent unless repeated private attempts to reach them have gone nowhere for an extended period, unless repeated calls were left unreturned, unless all tolerance had been exhausted. According to those aware of events, mounting money troubles in Montecito prompted the Sussexes to withdraw into near total quiet. Messages received no replies. Social overtures grew distant. Inquiries about the support he had given were allegedly dismissed as though they belonged to the distant past. At that stage, the bond transformed from something familial into purely transactional. Tyler Perry apparently started sensing he was being overlooked. He came to understand he no longer held the position of valued companion or advisor. Instead, he had become an option of last resort, a backup resource acknowledged only during moments of crisis. For someone who rose from sleeping in his vehicle to controlling his own production facilities, such treatment counts as profound disrespect. This went deeper than wounded emotions. It concerned personal integrity. Lending millions on an informal basis carries the absolute least expectation of ongoing dialogue. Harry and Meghan violated the fundamental principle of accepting borrowed funds. When repayment isn't possible, you at least maintain contact. Rather than doing so, they appeared to fall back on the royal habit of dignified quiet, possibly assuming a wealthy individual wouldn't pursue what seemed like a minor amount. They seriously misjudged him. Tyler Perry didn't erupt in sudden rage. He first became still. He observed their globe-trotting appearances that mimicked royal engagements. He noticed their purchases of high-end fashion. He saw them collecting honors. Throughout all of it, his messages stayed marked as unread. That pattern of avoidance points to alarming overconfidence. It suggests they felt their royal background excused them from ordinary obligations tied to settling debts. They assumed their celebrity carried enough weight to serve as security. Yet when financial movement halts, the true character of relationships emerges. The quiet coming from Montecito wasn't seen as graceful restraint. It registered as deliberate strategy. It signaled to Perry that repayment would occur only under compulsion, so he shifted his approach. After dialogue fails entirely, the remaining form of expression is legal pressure. That's the transition from being known as Godfather Perry to becoming a lender pursuing court action. Harry and Meghan assumed they could vanish on a friend. They overlooked that they were vanishing on someone holding proof of their whole way of living. Now that quiet stands ready to be shattered by courtroom proceedings. The question on everyone's mind is straightforward. Given their royal titles and the enormous contracts they've reportedly secured, why can't they simply send Tyler Perry payment and resolve everything? The explanation connects to a harsh truth in property ownership called the money pit. From an outsider's perspective, the Riven Rock estate appears idyllic. Flowers flourish, the sea sparkles nearby, and impressive vehicles glide through secure entrances. But structures remain indifferent to how they look publicly. They respond only to numbers, and the calculations for this particular residence are said to be ruining them financially. Consider the ongoing expenses Tyler Perry has probably monitored with increasing concern. The $14 million mortgage represents only the starting cost. We're discussing six-figure yearly taxes on the property that arrive regardless of employment status. We're discussing round-the-clock personal protection details running into millions annually, expense once handled by British public funds, but now charged solely to Harry. Factor in wages for household employees, grounds care across 7 acres during water-restricted conditions, plus the constant effort needed to project wealth. Beyond that, experts in real estate have quietly mentioned the long-standing troubles associated with Riven Rock. That section of Montecito suffers from unstable ground conditions. Landslides and water damage occur frequently. Maintaining insurance coverage for such a place reportedly turns into an ordeal, with costs climbing sharply each year. Local talk persists about outdated systems and pipe problems that turn the residents into an endless repair drain. Harry and Meghan acquired not a valuable holding, but an ongoing financial burden that consumes resources constantly. Those huge recurring costs would feel manageable if anticipated revenue had materialized. But let's put aside illusions immediately. Signed agreements do not equal actual incoming funds. Everyone witnessed the reported $20 million Spotify arrangement fall apart dramatically. Beyond losing the expected payment, they suffered severe damage to their standing. A senior executive named Bill Simmons stated publicly that he considered them con artists. In entertainment, that accusation carries poison. Netflix persisted somewhat longer, yet warning signs appeared clearly. By 2025, several projects they were involved in failed to rank anywhere near the highest viewer lists. The Sussex identity relied on capturing temporary interest rather than building lasting value, and fleeting attention cannot cover enduring obligations. As projected earnings failed to appear, financial breathing room vanished rapidly. For months, whispers have suggested Meghan has attempted discreetly to list the residence privately, hoping to avoid the embarrassment of an open market sign. However, with buyer interest slowing and word spreading about its costly nature, potential purchasers have stayed away. That's the situation Tyler Perry observes. He sees individuals living beyond their means on an extravagant level. He recognizes the complete withdrawal of royal financial backup, no income from the duchy, no last-minute assistance from King Charles. He understands that waiting longer risks having nothing available to recover later. The residence was meant to represent independence. Instead, it has turned into confinement. This account would already carry enough sorrow if it concerned only financial matters, but it involves something more personal. That's what makes the following part particularly painful. We're discussing not some distant creditor or anonymous banking official. We're discussing Tyler Perry, the individual Harry and Meghan specifically requested to serve as godfather to their daughter, Princess Lilibet. Pause and absorb that fact. Within Christian practice, a godparent acts as a lifelong spiritual protector. That person holds responsibility for a child's inner well-being. That person becomes part of the family. By accepting, Tyler Perry committed to far more than occasional presence. He promised ongoing care and direction across years. He famously made his $18 million Beverly Hills residence available when they lacked any alternative. He supplied his personal protection staff after royal security ended. He supported them during their most difficult public moments. For this individual, this protective figure, to reach the stage where he is said to be warning of legal action against his goddaughter's parents indicates a rupture so profound, so intimate, and so damaging that it's difficult to fully grasp. It points to Tyler Perry discovering a harsh reality. His role was assigned rather than earned through genuine closeness. He was selected because he offered practical advantages, a wealthy man possessing aircraft and expansive property ideally suited to connect their former royal existence with their emerging Hollywood chapter. Now that this godfather seeks repayment, the family has ceased communication. We refer to this as the godfather's response. It stems not from spite, but from clear-eyed understanding. Tyler Perry ranks among the most admired and influential people in show business. He possesses his own production facilities. He stands as a self-created giant. His authority within entertainment remains unmatched. When someone of his level indicates he has been mistreated by the Sussexes, opportunities in Hollywood don't merely diminish, they seal shut. Consider the wider consequences. If Tyler Perry, their most giving, enduring, and faithful ally, can no longer rely on them, who else would? Would Oprah Winfrey provide further support? Would Ellen DeGeneres or the Clooneys extend invitations to their properties? Clearly not. Tyler Perry served as the ultimate measure of their trustworthiness in America. By supposedly failing to honor him, Harry and Meghan have broadcast a warning signal declaring, "Associating with us brings risk. We make unreliable partners. Stay away." Additional potential backers observe carefully. If Tyler Perry chooses openness, nobody wishes to remain the final person left unpaid. Their social standing begins eroding here. Beyond losing borrowed funds, they have forfeited someone who could vouch for their integrity. In a community like Montecito, where standing defines everything, facing a lawsuit from your child's godparent leaves a mark that endures forever. It demonstrates that the proclaimed commitment to kindness through Archewell was merely words. When it mattered most with the person who rescued them, kindness gave way to self-interest. Harry and Meghan probably believed their titles would silence critics, yet they overlooked a basic American principle. Money holds ultimate authority, and Tyler Perry possesses far greater resources than they do. He refrained from revealing anything during their successful period. He waited until pretense failed. Now this godfather requires full accountability, not solely for the funds, but for the relationship squandered on individuals who never properly appreciated it. For ordinary people, the prospect of a lawsuit creates stress over finances. But for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, Tyler Perry's stated position amounts to a catastrophic threat. Why the reported fear? Because under U.S. law, legal action extends beyond determining debt amounts. It triggers a procedure known as discovery, and that procedure represents something Harry and Meghan cannot withstand. Let's clarify precisely what his warning puts at risk. Courtrooms focus on evidence, not emotions. The core tool in court is discovery. Should Tyler Perry initiate proceedings, his legal team gains authority to request all relevant materials. That includes financial statements, borrowing terms, correspondence, messages, taxation documents, and listings of possessions. Picture the communications Harry exchanged with Tyler Perry following the Spotify failure. Picture messages Meghan sent concerning the payment shortfall. With discovery underway, nothing gets polished, no narrative gets shaped, no parts stay hidden, only unfiltered reality remains. This scenario terrifies them. For a long time, the Sussexes have shaped public perception through carefully managed conversations with sympathetic hosts like Oprah, where topics receive approval beforehand, yet judges prioritize verifiable facts over preferred versions. And here's what should concern anyone connected to Montecito: one legal dispute over a personal loan can uncover additional ones. Financial investigators will examine records thoroughly to follow money trails. They will bring to light every informal arrangement, every short-term fix, every commitment linked to upcoming work. that risks dismantling the central story of their life in America, the claim of complete self-reliance. This extends beyond a single residence. It questions whether their entire story of independence can withstand scrutiny. Should documents indicate their way of living depended entirely on generosity from wealthy figures like Tyler Perry, shifting obligations between sources, then their image as independently successful former royals collapses. It confirms accusations from detractors labeling them opportunists. Moreover, scrutiny might reach into RQL operations. Information suggests that personal financial strain frequently reveals deeper organizational problems. Reports mention unclear separations between private spending, charitable outlays, and property-related costs. Were charitable resources used for residents' protection? Did foundation accounts fund journeys? During legal examination, examiners focus solely on figures, not image. When examiners begin reviewing, financial access halts. That accounts for the complete lack of response from Montecito currently. Observe the absences. No refutation has appeared. No firm declaration exists. No records have surfaced to refute claims. In money-related conflicts, quiet does not signal strength. It signals strategy. People near the events describe urgent evaluations of valuables, legacies, ongoing payments, and possible disposals. They appear to be rushing to identify assets that could be converted quickly to halt proceedings before court involvement. When resources dwindle and litigation approaches, available cash determines continuation. The Montecito residence stops functioning as a personal space. It transforms into potential proof, security for claims, a roughly 20 million item facing serious uncertainty. Tyler Perry possesses access to the concealed truths. He recognizes that Harry and Meghan would probably sacrifice greatly to prevent open examination. Yet lacking sufficient funds, they confront a judicial path that could reveal more in weeks than media outlets managed over a decade. As we conclude this examination of the Montecito circumstances, one timeless truth stands out, something Prince Harry apparently overlooked. Genuine autonomy cannot rest on borrowed resources. Tyler Perry did not ruin their vision, he merely revealed its actual price. Across years, Harry and Meghan sought to convince everyone they had become self-directed creators forging fresh paths. Yet today's details demonstrate that autonomy dependent on debt amounts to postponement. Postponement reaches the same conclusion every time, eventual confrontation. Seen clearly, their loss feels deeply sorrowful. They exchanged royal limitations for financial chains. They escaped the confined royal world only to enter the ruthless environment of U.S. wealth dynamics without protection. The Montecito residence was intended as proof of their release. Instead, it stands as documentation, a roughly 14 million reminder that their freedom came on credit, and credit always carries conditions. The residence ignores public perception. It tracks only the arithmetic. Now I pass judgment to you, the audience serving as public arbiters. Tyler Perry's 30-day notice continues counting down. If you were guiding Harry at this moment, what advice would you offer? Should he set aside ego, dispose of the property, and settle what he owes? Or should he challenge this powerful figure legally? Share your perspective in the comments. Write, pay up. If you believe immediate settlement is necessary, write, sell it. If you feel they should let go of the Montecito vision. If you value our efforts to reveal the monetary truth beneath the glamorous surface, please hit like. It supports keeping our work active and continuing these explorations. Remember to subscribe and enable notifications so you stay informed on every update. This situation continues developing. It has simply stopped maintaining appearances. See you next time.